My name is Jacob Kirksey. I'm an associate professor of education policy in the College of Education at Texas Tech, where I study the educator workforce across Texas. I am here not only as a researcher, but also a research practice partner with many of the school districts that are in the realities of what it means to recruit and retain highly effective educators for their students. I want to begin by saying that House Bill 2 is the most significant teacher workforce legislation in a generation, and you've heard that a lot today. But it's because it recognized for the first time in major landmark legislation as one system that needed the state's support to rebalance the economic scales so that Texans both choose high quality preparation and stay in the classroom once they do. Last year, I spoke with this committee about the learning loss that comes from uncertified teachers and the revolving door our classrooms had become. Today, I'll update on you that briefly with the most recent data, then spend most of my time on the other side of that door, retention, and how the groundwork you laid is starting to keep effective teachers. I'll walk through this in 4 parts. First is the problem you set out to solve. For years, Texas ran the country's largest experiment in hiring uncertified teachers, and encouragingly, that hiring has begun to decline. As shown on slide 1, there is a reliance that is concentrated in rural Texas on uncertified teachers. Specifically, uncertified teachers were 80% or more of first-time hires in 40 counties in 2023. In 2026, that number has increased to 66 counties. As we know, there is a cost to student learning. A year with an uncertified teacher costs a child 3 to 4 months of learning, but it is also a retention problem. Uncertified teachers turn over at 3 times the rate of their peers, and I've also shown in my research that uncertified teachers are also causing additional turnover of their certified peers. If I'm a certified teacher, for example, and a quarter of my grading content area is uncertified, I am 23% more likely to turn over and leave the classroom. Underpreparation doesn't just link to lower achievement, it's destabilizing the entire teaching workforce. Now that's the context. The rest of my testimony is some good news, and it's about keeping teachers. Retention begins at the front end of the pipeline, preparation. The prep allotment incentivizes candidates to choose high-quality teacher preparation, including $20,000 stipends for candidates who spend a full year student teaching. I recently evaluated 2 large university-based residency programs, our programs at Texas Tech and the minor residency program at the University of Texas, El Paso. My question when going into this evaluation was, are these programs producing teachers who stay? My research shows that they are. The chart on slide 2 shows that these 2 residency pathways exhibit the highest rates of retention among other pathways considered. Texas Tech's programs produce teachers 20% more likely to stay in teaching after 5 years, and UTEP's residents don't just stay, they stay in our hardest to staff schools. These programs show that these teachers are having a real impact in classrooms. And what they also show is that having real time in a classroom before you're handed your own is what makes a teacher who lasts. Retention also depends on the other end of the pipeline, rewarding teachers once they've proven effective. And that's the teacher incentive allotment, which paid teachers over $500 million in additional compensation this year. I conducted the first statewide evaluation of TIA since its initial implementation in 2019. Shown on slide 3, I find that TIA is reducing overall turnover by 15%, and most important for quality, it is reducing attrition among the state's most effective teachers by about 20%. And this explains why TIA has not only raised student achievement by about 1/3 of a year in districts with approved systems. TIA isn't just keeping teachers, it's making the ones stay who are having the biggest impact. Finally, if well-prepared teachers are more effective and TIA rewards effectiveness, the teachers from our strongest pathways should be the ones earning it, and they are. As shown in slide 4, graduates of residency and student teaching programs are well over twice as likely to earn a TIA designation compared to other teachers. I'm happy to talk about what this looks like in districts where I work as a supporting researcher, such as Ector County ISD, where they are effectively leveraging their TIA teachers to bolster novice teachers' outcomes as well as their students. In conclusion, preparation, compensation, and retention aren't 3 separate problems. They are one pipeline, and House Bill 2 was the first Texas law to fund it all together. The early evidence says it's working. Keep funding the whole pipeline, not just one end of it, And Texas will spend far less time replacing teachers and far more time keeping its best ones in the classroom. Thank you, and I look forward to any questions you have. Retention or bad turnover would be when you're losing teachers who are adding value to students beyond what their demographics would present,
Absolutely.
the school they go to predicts. And then, so that would be bad turnover. We don't want to lose those folks.
Right.
I would say good turnover is there is unfortunately circumstances where you have folks who, they should not have or they are not currently producing, results in a way that suggests that they're doing good
Right.
things for kids. And I think there are school leaders across the state who would agree with that. I think that's right. And I think the research would support that just in terms of we know that there are declines in,
Yeah.
student growth with class sizes, but compared to what the alternative would be, ensuring that we have qualified, prepared adults there is first and foremost. But to your point, I think there is a lot of cool strategic staffing work right now that is very much relevant to teacher incentive allotment teachers, other different models of teacher coaching. And so I would say that that's not even the choice I would make. I would make the choice of you have 2 classrooms of 14 kids, you have a really highly qualified and effective teacher in one. What are the ways in which we can modify the school schedule or think about ways in which we can leverage this highly effective teacher to coach this ineffective or less effective teacher, and provide different opportunities there. Maybe we have a para who's an aspiring teacher cover one class period for that effective teacher so that they can then go in and have time to coach and work with that other teacher. Maybe it's thinking creatively around how do we better leverage PLCs as part of this. So I think there's a lot of ways that, again, it all does come back to your point, which is if you don't have an effective teacher there in the first place, then it's a lot more limited.